Do the first intro.
All right, we are live. Let me pull this screen over here. We would love to welcome everybody to the first edition, the first podcast of 5 Years, 5 Mil. Ryan and I have worked together years and years ago, doing all sorts of stuff, door-to-door sales mostly, but we've developed a friendship over the last decade or so and seen each other grow personally and professionally. And we've always had this goal to start or have a podcast where we talk about what it took for us to get to where we are today. We really think that we'll be able to help a lot of people out there reach their goals. And there's a bunch of stuff that we're going to do. I don't want to talk too much, but I just wanted to give a little bit of an introduction. How are you today, Ryan? How you doing, brother?
Feel great, man. Couldn't feel better,
great?
Actually. Fuck yeah. Oh, are we PG? I feel fantastic.
I don't know.
Super.
It's like we're just kind of exploring and seeing where this goes. And I'm sure at some point we'll probably have to keep it PG. But here, up front, I don't think that it matters that much. It's not like we're a big famous podcast or anything.
I just want to say I'm pumped. We literally
Heck yeah.
have been discussing about this for years. I mean, we've been at least 2 years, probably closer to 5 years. We've been talking about doing some kind of content and doing something to help people. Even our old job where we learned most of the skills that we're going to go over, we were focusing on helping people, right? So it's so easy to transition from helping people in that to helping people here. And in between, we've already helped so many people to become successful and teach them life skills, financial kind of things, how to earn more money, how to become, how to develop yourself personally. We've gone over so many topics and helped so many people. It's almost crazy that it took us this long to get this thing launched. So it's our inaugural event, right? It's like the first one we've done.
Yeah, we've talked about this for a while, and the podcast name comes from a goal that we set when we were roommates. This is before. Or this is, I guess, right when Amber and I started. This is like 6-7 years ago. We came up with, hey man, let's set a goal. Let's make $5 million in 5 years. In 5 years, let's see who we can race to $5 million and see who gets there first. And we've both been pretty successful, and it's awesome to see where we have come just since then. And having some willy-nilly goal, which we're going to talk about today, that helped lead us to where we are, which is super, super awesome. And I guess let's just talk a little bit about your background, man. Like, what is your background in sales? What is your background in leadership? This is a podcast focused specifically on leadership, sales training, management, personal growth, development, and how to win. So what qualifications do you have that people should listen to and take your advice for what you've got going on here and what we're going to be doing? Who are you? Where are you from? What you're doing?
First one is I just win, right? So if you're a winner, it's easy to teach other people how to win. So a lot of people aren't willing to work hard. I think I'm going to talk about my background, but first I want to discuss just the importance of being a winner and putting in the effort to achieve the results you want. I'm going to talk about myself, but before that, I want to ask you about, have you ever seen this Tony Robbins thing where it has 4 blocks? Block 1, block 2, block 3, block 4, and there's an arrow
urgent,
that
important.
No, it's different.
No, okay.
It was an interview he did with Frank Kern, some internet marketers, and he had 4 blocks, and block 1 was potential, and it was pretty much the idea was everyone has unlimited potential, and then you go to the right, and then it's belief, so your belief, and then down was your action, and then to the left is your result. Okay, so everyone, most people. This is the idea of a belief. So people will have a really strong belief, and they'll take a really hard action and get a great result, and that goes back, and then it reinforces their belief, and they take even more action and get an even bigger result, right? The other way works too, is that people have a really shitty belief, and then they take a little bit of action, and they say, oh, it doesn't work. I knew it wouldn't work. And they get a crappy result, and then it reinforces their shitty belief, and it's a downward spiral. So with myself, I was just willing to take massive action and have a strong belief, and then reinforce that over and over. So we have a very similar background, right? in my case, I always wanted to be, yeah, exactly. The success cycle, right? Exactly
Yeah.
right. So because of this, I was able to be successful. And even before learning about this, I always knew that I wanted to be like financially successful. I always had this idea in my mind, but I was like an introvert
What's your
growing up.
definition
So
of financially successful?
being able to do what you want, when you want, however you want at any time with no thoughts of money. So
Yeah.
being able to do anything at any time, being completely independent, so this is by far, for me, this was the biggest thing for financial success. And I always wanted that, but I was introverted. I wasn't like, I was a shy kid. I was like overweight growing up. I didn't know how to do things. My family was all normal 9-to-5 employees. I didn't have any like role models as far as entrepreneurs in my life. But I wanted this thing. I wanted that independence. And I just decided to go after it. And I had to learn all these skills. And it took, 10 years, 20 years to be able to do that. Right. And most people, are just not willing to put in that work. And in our case, we both were. So we're cut from the same cloth in that sense, where we came from this previous door-to-door sales background. And that's where we really like kind of cut our teeth, right? And we figured out like how to train people, how to interview people, how to bring people on, just how to do sales in general, right? Like this is kind of a thing that people don't know how to do. So for me, I learned those skills, and then I was able to become financially successful today because of all that action I took before leading up to this point. So right now, these days, I do high ticket drop shipping primarily. I do online e-commerce. We do a multi-million business. We do $2 to $3 million in revenue annually. And we have a big staff, and we're constantly growing. So it just felt like the right moment to start pushing out this information to people so they could take advantage of today's day and age.
Absolutely. That's awesome, man. Yeah. And obviously, we know each other's backgrounds. We worked together. We were roommates for a little bit there. And over the years, we've developed this friendship, and we've kind of challenged and pushed each other. If one will become stagnant, the other will, help motivate, and vice versa, and kind of push and drive. That's where the 5 years, 5 mil goal came from. This was before I had, I was in crypto, but this was before I'd gotten into Hex and kind of had some success there. But most of the people in the community who are going to be tuning in know my background for the most part. But I've always been in sales. When I was in college, and I did serving tables, which I didn't understand it then as sales, but even a simple job such as serving tables is sales. After that, I was doing construction, working for moving companies. I found out very quickly that I would do it, and I had a good work ethic, but I didn't want to do that long term. And I did understand that sales was where the money was, and that's what I needed to get into. I changed my major multiple times. I dropped out of college. I just couldn't find a fit that felt good. The first sales job that I had that really taught me how to sell was working for a company called Simply Wireless. And it was a cell phone company in the mall. We sold, this was before the merger, AT&T and Singular, Sprint, Nextel, T-Mobile. And they had a 2-week sales training that they did with me. And I came in and I was like, holy cow, this is awesome. I've never had anybody teach me how to sell and what to do and how to go through, and the proper steps to a conversation and how to close somebody. And I fell in love with it, man. I came in and I ate everybody's lunch. I stood at the door in the mall, and anybody that walked by, I would talk to them. I was that guy who was at the mall just talking to people, trying to get.
What mall was it? Potomac Mills?
Say what?
Potomac Mills?
Yep. Without doxing too much. It was Potomac
Northern
Mills
Virginia.
Mall.
It's a huge mall. Everyone knows what it is in the area.
It is. Yeah. So, with that being said, went through and I was a sales rep for a couple of weeks, and I ate everybody's lunch, even my store manager. He just didn't want to work. And like you said, I wanted to take the action necessary to get the result, and he didn't. So by the end of the month, end of my first month as a sales rep, I was promoted to a store manager. They moved me out of that store and put me into a smaller location, just a kiosk at a completely different location, not at the same mall. I was there for a month. I built up a team of other people. I showed them what I was done, and I built on the training that they received from corporate. And I trained this kid, Brian, to take over that store. And then they moved me back to the main store that I was at, the inline store at the mall. So coming through, and I didn't really have any training skill or knowledge at that time. I was just literally showing them what I was doing and how to do it. They had created a system, and I just was trying to replicate that system, and I just harped on that system to other people, which is interesting. I never thought of that before, but that's what led to a lot of the information and knowledge that we gained going through the Intuitive Group and working at the Intuitive Group, doing door-to-door sales for a couple of years that we did, and building teams and training and replicating ourselves. You know, I don't want to say anyone can teach anyone to sell, because it's hard, but leaders don't create leaders. Leaders don't create followers. Leaders create leaders. And that's what we learned going through the Intuitive Group, which was really super cool. But got that first bit of sales, and it was off to the races, man. Like, I just fell in love with it. I did multiple other sales jobs after that. Eventually ended up doing door-to-door sales. With you, we did door-to-door sales for Verizon, which was awesome. I learned so much. I tell people all the time, you will learn more in 2 years doing door-to-door sales than you will in 4 years of college. You'll learn how to manage money. You'll learn how to manage your time. You'll learn how to speak to people. You'll learn how to take rejection. There are so many benefits of working door-to-door sales that a lot of people are too afraid to take that action, to step outside of their comfort zones. But I was in a desperate spot. I was in a desperate place. I really didn't have any other choices or really any other options. And that opportunity was presented to me, and I jumped on it. And I'm glad that I did, because I met some amazing people there. I met you, obviously, my buddy Justin, who later got me into the mortgage industry, where I went from making, $30K a year doing phone sales for Verizon door-to-door for business to business to $30K a month selling mortgages to people, right? So a big step, but there was so much that I learned from the Intuitive Group, and that we're going to be discussing here on this podcast. Leadership, sales training, management, personal growth development, how to win, systems for success. And I think that's going to be a common trend that we speak about on this podcast, our systems for success, because really, if you can replicate and teach someone how to replicate, the easiest way to do that is through a system. So did that for 100%. A while, got into the mortgage industry, was in the mortgage industry for about 10 years. That gave me the opportunity to ape into crypto even harder. I had first started getting into crypto back right when we were doing the business, the door-to-door B2B for Verizon. Didn't really get into it too much, but as I got into the mortgage industry and had more expendable cash to invest, I started getting into cryptos and investing in cryptos, which really did well for us and really allowed us to take that next step, the next level. Now I'm really just kind of finding myself. The last 2 years, we've spent a lot of time traveling. My son recently started school. My wife wanted to be at school with him, so she took a teacher's aide position, and now I'm sitting at home by myself, and I'm really trying to rediscover who I am and where I want to go from here. We've talked about this recently. I'm spending time now investing time into my music and investing time into my faith, which I've always done, but now that I have more time on my hands, I feel like I'm having more of a calling from God to be more vocal about my faith. But yeah, this was something that we've talked about for years, and we have the time now. So why not do it? So that's kind of where we're at. That's kind of how we got here, and I'm pumped, man. I'm ready. I think this is going to be a fun journey. I think it's going to be really cool.
Me too, man. I'm so excited to just have this time to chat. I mean, you have been like kind of locked in over the last few years, just because, with your, with your kid and with the way your life is organized, you really haven't had enough time to like actually settle in and do some sort of like kind of content, or we haven't really been able to figure out kind of how to get it launched. And with this time that you have now, we're able to really do this. So it's super I can't express how excited I am. And also, the one thing that I really enjoy when you're pushing out content and you're talking with people, and we're going to have like guests on, and we're going to be able to actually change people's lives directly, not just through watching the content, right? Just to see the transition in people. This is something that's so powerful when we were at Intuitive Group, is you have a new hire and they would come in and they wouldn't like have a suit. Like you'd have people who come in who didn't know how to tie a tie, right? Or they would come in like looking crazy, and then you would coach them and guide them. And within 2 weeks, they're like coming in, buttoned up, fresh cut. They look nice. They're super excited. They're enthusiastic. And just to see that transition in people when they hit the goals they want and they achieve what they set out to do, they just become so much bright. They're so much brighter people. And this is what we need in today's age. People are talking about, oh, America's collapsing, blah, 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 blah. We need people to step up and show other people how to get it done, rather than sitting, by the sideline and saying, oh, that's not for me. This isn't for me. This is something I can never do. This is something that only other people can do. I've heard about it, but that's a different type of person. Anyone can do it. And we used to talk about in the sales job, if you can walk and you can talk, you could do sales, right? It's not any more complicated than that. It's a learned skill. You just have to be able to go out and do it and have a system. So you were talking about like replicating, right? And achieving your own goals. So if you have a goal that you want to hit, let's say it's a big goal, for example, you probably can't do it alone. You need help, and you need other people to be on your team. And how can you do that unless you can replicate? So you have to teach other people how to do what you do in order to hit your big goals. So a lot of people will go out there, people who are successful will go out there and they don't even know why they're successful. Like there's a lot of professional athletes who might have like a really special skill, but they don't know what they're doing exactly and how they're able to do what they can do. There's a lot of stories like that. But when you have a system and you can replicate it and you can teach someone else how to do what you're doing, guess what? They get the same results as you. And then they get pumped. Then they join your team. Then you keep moving forward and you join your goals together and you have shared vision and you go after it together. And this is something that we've learned that, no one knows this. Like people are interested in like ancient Egypt, right? What sort of magic did they have? Some crazy ability. But it's like there's abilities now that you can use to actually get ahead rather than thinking about other things that aren't relevant to your day-to-day life. How often do we get caught up in nonsense that actually doesn't get us to where we want to go rather than, right? So it's so valuable. So that's a long way of saying it, but I'm just pumped they were able to connect here and like share this knowledge with people, because how many people do I know that want to be successful but aren't able to do it for any number of reasons, aka excuses, right? Correct. We used to say you can make excuses or you can make money, but not both.
You can make excuses or you can be successful, but you can't do both. And I have a buddy, he goes by Burner, funny name. Actually might be a real name. Don't want to dox him, but he goes by Burner. He always said, excuses are the nails that build the houses of losers. I love that.
That's right.
Excuses are the nails that build the houses of losers. And I that has always stuck with me. And I always think that. And every time I give myself an excuse and I'm like, okay, I'm being a loser. Don't build a house of loserness. Like go out and rock out and take action and do what it takes. So with that, I wanted to kind of set some expectations on what people can expect from us. We are going to discuss leadership and what it takes to be a good leader and how to replicate that. Leaders create leaders. Leaders don't create followers. If you're creating followers, you're not a leader. Leaders create leaders. We're going to go in depth into all of this stuff throughout the podcast as time goes on. Sales training, management, personal growth development, how to win, systems for success. The first thing that we're going to talk about today on our first podcast is understanding your opportunity. And there's a lot that goes into that. And I'm going to pass this over to you because you were pretty passionate when we were talking about this, that you feel like people are not really taking advantage because they just simply don't understand what's in front of them.
Everyone is different, right? There's people who have role models in their life. So they have people they can look up to and say, oh, this person is a good person that I want to be like. I know you had that one dude, I don't want to dox again. We're trying to keep it personal lives personal, but you had that person that you lived in his house for a while, who was in the military, right? So he was like a huge, you used to talk about him all the time when we were having conversations.
The Colonel. Absolutely.
Right.
We can just call him the Colonel, right?
The Colonel. Perfect.
The Colonel. Yeah,
And
he was awesome, man.
You would come to me and be like, yo, I learned this thing from him. He taught me this about, like, I remember there was one specific thing, like communication. You were talking like when two people talk, there's like a wall in between and there's like a filter on how they receive the information. You had like a whole diagram and something that he had taught you that you showed me in the office. And I was like, oh, that's like, and you just had all this. It's a lot of people don't have that role model. Some people do, some people don't. Right? The people who have that role model, they naturally will learn to think about their goals. They'll naturally absorb that kind of through osmosis, even if they're not taught directly. But there's a whole other category. In fact, most people don't have someone around that they know that they can actually talk to who's going to care about them and support them in a way to show them how to have goals and what they can achieve. Most people don't have that. So we're going to give that to people today. And that is the basis for that is understanding your opportunity. And that is knowing what your opportunity is and actually setting your goals, right? So what does that mean? So setting your goals is knowing, okay, if you go to a 9-to-5 job, that's probably not going to be most people that listen to this podcast, right? But let's say there are some people. You don't really need big goals because you go to work every day. You have someone tell you exactly what to do. You log in, you do your work, you go home, you drink a beer, you watch the game, you come back the next day. On the weekends, you go out to the bars with your buddies, you hang out, and that's your life. Good for you, right? But if you want something more, if you want to be more than that, if you want to be successful, if you want to go on cruises, if you want to travel the world, if you want to visit exotic locations, if you want to spend your days on the beach with a coconut and a Mai Tai, you're not going to achieve that working a 9-to-5. It just doesn't happen, right? Maybe you get 1 week a month if you're approved. If your manager signs off on it, then you can do something once a year for 2 days or something. It's just not worth it. Okay. So that's one option. The second option is paving your own path and deciding, hey, this is what I want. So understanding opportunity relates to knowing what it is that you want. Everyone is going to have different goals. Everyone is going to have a different vision. Everyone is going to want to achieve something different for themselves. Now, what do most people want? Financial independence. That's the first step, right? You want to achieve financial independence. That's what most people, they want. Yeah, pave your own path. Yep. So I think of it like you have the date that you were born from your parents or from your mom, and you have the second date you were born, and that's when you're financially independent. I mean, that's how important it is because it opens up every other possibility for you in life when you have that freedom. So if you know what's possible, if you open up your mind, open up your brain to different possibilities than just what's right in front of you, then you can start setting bigger goals. Yeah. So let's just talk about the example of somebody in the field. This might be really resonate with some people. So if you're in the field,
explain what you mean by the field.
Perfect. So if you're doing sales, the field could be anything. It could be doing door-to-door sales. It could be on the phone. It could be the field would just be any context in which you're doing a sales situation. For us in door-to-door, it was actually physically outside in the field, but it could be any sales context. So if you're in the field and you're getting no's, right? A lot of people will get, I saw this customer, they told me no. I saw this customer, they told me no. I saw this customer, they told me no. And after the 10th no, what do you see on their face? They look sad, right? They're like, boss, somebody yelled at me. I want to cry, right? You get those kind of reactions. Or I don't know this person, and it's like, okay, great. So the reason why that person is so affected by those no's is because they don't have something that they're working towards. They are giving control to that other person, right? They're giving control over their success to the other person in front of them, rather than understanding, hey, I'm in control of my own destiny.
Simply because they don't have a direction or a path. They don't have a path that they're on. I've always said that your goals should be so big that when you tell other people about them, they laugh at you.
Oh, that's good. Yep.
Yeah. I mean, if people don't think that it's not realistic, your goals probably aren't big enough. So one of the things that we've learned and, going through the field and setting goals is that, like you just said, you're going to have people who slam doors on your faces. You're going to have obstacles. You are going to have bad days. What is it that's going to keep you motivated through all of that garbage to continue to move forward? your goals, knowing the final destination, know where you're going to be, sacrificing the door slammed on your face, sacrificing the people calling you a loser, sacrificing, whatever it may be that to go out there and not want to have to deal with. The only thing that is going to help pull you through that is knowing that there is something on the other side that you're working for. I think that's the concept of what we're talking about.
It gives you thick skin. Because
it does.
And also there's another great analogy here is the baseball analogy, right? So if you are getting if you're playing baseball and you're swinging the bat, and then a pitcher can throw any type of ball at you, right? They could throw a curveball, fastball, soft, any sort of type of switch up, whatever. They can throw any knuckleball, they can throw any type of ball at you, but your swing is your swing. So because you've perfected your swing, and this is kind of getting into the pitch as well, but you've perfected your technique, then it doesn't matter what life throws at you, because I'm going to control the controllables. I can't control what someone else is going to do, but what I can control is my actions. It's the only thing that I have control over. So if I set my destination, if I set my goal for what I want to achieve, then I'm going to take action towards that. And no matter what's thrown at me, if my goals are big enough, I'm going to juggernaut right through those suns, because it doesn't matter what's thrown at me. I'm just going to head first right into it and just run. Like if there's a wave coming at me at the beach, I'm not going to let the wave hit me. I'm going right under and right through it.
Right. Absolutely.
100%.
Absolutely. So when we talk about goals, we have short-term and long-term goals. I was telling you earlier, I have a buddy who has a roofing company, and he asked me to speak with one of his door-to-door sales guys the other day. And this is funny, because we had just had this conversation. You were saying, you were trying to convince me, like, Fred, dude, we have the knowledge and we have the skills that most people don't know. And like, you see all these guys on YouTube and TikTok and Instagram, and they're going through and they have clips of them trying to do the sales stuff. Like, they don't have the systems in place to be able to replicate what they're doing. They could teach you a couple cool trick phrases to say, but they don't have the systems in place. That really resonated with me. Just 2 days ago, I have a buddy who owns a roofing company, and he said, "Hey, Fred, can you talk to one of my guys? He's a new guy. He's young. He's 23. He's right out of college. Super sharp, very smart. Chose to come in to do door to door just to be able to learn communication skills." Instantly, I was blown away. I was like, who comes out of college and chooses one of the hardest jobs that you could possibly have, going door to door to do sales, to try to improve on your communication skills? This kid's sharp. He's got what it takes. So I start talking to him. And then, like, as we're talking and he's explaining things to me and telling me what his day is and what his process is and his pitch and what his mentality is, like, I just start seeing all of these things that are out of place. They're just not right. He has the motivation, he has the ambition, but he doesn't have the focus. And there's a few things that I saw that I was able to help him with that I pulled directly from the systems that we use to help him instantly. And it's funny, I was telling you just before the stream, he went out in the field that day and hit a home run. Had solar appointment Monday, had another solar appointment yesterday. So it's cool to be able to see him take those couple pieces of advice that I gave him from, I think it was only supposed to be about a 30-minute conversation. It ended up being like a 2-hour conversation. And I had to be careful because I didn't want to dump a ton of information on him, but I wanted to give him enough tools to be able to go out and see instant results. And I saw yesterday he posted in this chat, and my buddy hit me up, and I was like, dude, this is awesome. I can't believe it. And that's really when it hit me, like, the systems that we know, even though, it's been 10, 15 years since we were actively teaching these to other people, that they're still there. And it's like riding a bike. It'll just come right back to you directly. But with
it's
goal
ingrained.
setting,
it's ingrained in the skin. It's like ingrained in, once we've done it. I mean, how many times have you explained the system? If you had to think, like, it just guess, right? At least, right? In a 5-minute way, in a 20-minute way, in a 3-hour way. I mean, all sorts of ways, And then another thing I just want to touch on before we move on is you talked about, like, not wanting to dump too much content on someone all at once, right? Like, you want that instant results for the guy you're talking about. But also think about, like, how many times do you need to hear the same thing over and over and over again for it to like sink
Right.
in and integrate? So sometimes
Yep.
you just gotta dump and then dump and then dump and then dump, and then, you know, and then people just finally the seventh time they hear it, it clicks, you know. So
Oh yeah.
there's that case too, for sure.
Yeah, and that's why it went from a 30-minute conversation to a 2-hour Zoom call with this kid. So, but it was cool, man. It was cool to see his results. I hope to see that he has some results today. Oh, hold on. He did post in this chat. I do want to check this real quick. But then I want to get into how to make goals and how to make proper goals. And people hear all the time about, you know, making sure that your goals are efficient, making sure that they are, let's see, did he post in here?
I can explain. I can do a little lead up to what we're. I have an interesting side note about that before we get into the goal topic. While you're pulling that up.
Yeah. Let's hear it. Sorry, I was just looking to see that. If I
no, you're good. You're 100% good. So you've done this. I know I've done this. So it works. I don't know why it works. I mean, you can blame it on the secret. You can blame it on, you know, the spiritualness. I don't know why it works. But there's this exercise where you write down your perfect day, right? That it's so powerful. I mean, almost everyone I know who has achieved some level of success did this exercise at some point in their life, right? They set up, what is my perfect day, right? So you get it's so easy. Get a piece of paper out and you just imagine, what is my perfect day? And be as descriptive as possible. You write down, what am I doing in the morning? What is my time like? Who are my friends like? What is my feeling like? What's my emotional state? Where am I living? What's my day-to-day activities like? What am I doing at night? What am I doing? What am I eating? And you write down, it might be 1 page, it might be 2 pages, it might be 3 pages. But you write that down and then put it away and forget about it. Just write down what it is that you want to achieve. What is your quote unquote perfect day? If you start there, I had a really interesting example of this. So I wrote that down, and then I realized, like, I wrote down at the time, I really wanted to live on the beach. Like, I was writing this down. I wrote it down before. I really want to live like on the water. I want to take like a walk in the morning in the sun. Like, I had this whole kind of idea of what I wanted. And then I fast forward like 4 years later, and I'm like, oh, I'm living that exact life that I wanted to live that I wrote down 4 years ago. And so many people I know have had this experience. It doesn't happen overnight.
Yep.
You still have to take action. You still have to work hard. You still have to learn, overcome issues and problems. But by golly, it seems to work. People I know, everyone, like, you did it.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And that's why a lot of people will create vision boards to help them with their goals, to help them see their goals, just to think about it, have it in the back of their mind. Pardon me, and then to go out and take the action that they need to take. So let's jump into that real quick. Let's talk about SMART goals. And it's kind of cliche. If you're in sales, you hear people talk about it all the time in different works and different avenues. But let me share my screen here. We are going to start out. Sorry.
You got something to pull up here? Let's see.
Yep. Let's do this. I'm going to zoom in. So,
cool. Okay.
Specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-based. So SMART goals, you don't want to just set goals, go out and say, oh, I want to close $1 million in sales this year. Like that's not an effective goal to have. There's so many reasons why that's not effective. It's not actionable. It doesn't define the steps that you need to take in order to get there. There's a million different reasons why when setting goals, it is important to be structured and have a system to it. So let's just start out. Specific. You want to increase the chances that you're able to accomplish your business goals by making sure they're well defined. Determine the who, what, where, when, and why. So Ryan, let's do this. While we're on stream, let's set some goals for the podcast here.
Perfect.
And then we'll do like active goals and we'll track it and we'll see how things work over time. I'm going to break out a pen. I'm going to write this stuff down. But what is something specific that we would like to accomplish with this podcast?
Well, we could think about that in a few different ways. Let's analyze it for a second, because somebody who's just learning this would also kind of be analyzing it a bit. So like we could think about it in terms of how many people do we want to help? How many people do we want to watch? Right? Those are the first two things that come to mind, like subscribers or viewers or another thing would be like, how many people do we want to actually help? Like maybe case studies or testimonials or stories of people who actually come, who have learned from this podcast and gone out and gotten results, just like that guy you're talking about with the solar stuff.
Right. So,
what do you think?
We need to determine the who, the what, the where, the when, and the why. So the who are, I would think, people who are ready to take the actions necessary, but don't know the steps that they have to take. So if we're talking about who we want to impact or who we want to reach, am I on the right track with that?
Yeah. So I just think we're going to focus in on, so we're not going to primarily focus on the amount of people that actually subscribe and actually engage. We're going to focus on the people that we actually help.
Correct.
Makes sense? Yeah. Okay, perfect. So how many people do you think that, let's start off with who, what, when, where. Okay, so let's do the steps. So who would be, somebody who is ready to take action but isn't sure what to do or how to do it. That's obvious, right? Somebody who is just trying to get started, or somebody who's already doing it but wants to have be able to replicate, actually be able to systemize what they're doing.
Yep.
A lot of people like that. So what are we teaching them? We're teaching them how to, be successful, how to be a leader, how to hit their goals, how to do sales, how to be a leader.
Yep. So we want to teach them leadership characteristics. Hold on, let's go step by step here. So what, who, what, leadership characteristics, systems, right? Systems.
We're in the what,
so
right?
They can easily replicate. Yep, we are under the what. Sorry, I'm jumping back and forth.
Take your time.
Sales training, management, personal growth and development. Sales training, management, and personal development. Glad we have that catchy music playing just to kind of keep things rolling.
I'm jamming.
So that's the what.
Yep.
The next is the where. Where are, okay, so this is increase it. So we're doing this in real time. Increase the chances that you're able to accomplish your business goals by making sure they're well defined.
We can go through this, but I don't know if you got to dig so deep on specific. It's just a matter of like being specific. Okay, the real issue, and we know this from experience, is that most people say, "Oh, I want to be financially successful," right? And they don't even know what that means, right? Like, if you earn $100, are you financially successful? If you earn $1,000, are you financially successful? Like, do you mean that you want to be able to pay all your bills and have some money left over? Do you mean that you want to be a millionaire, right? Do you mean that you want to be a billionaire? Like, what is it that you want specifically? And you could use this as like a
5 years, 5 million.
Exactly. So
5 years,
specific, 5 million. Right. So the thing is, everyone's different, but just specify your goals. Specify what it is you want, and be the more specific, the more likely it is to happen. The less specific, the less likely it is to happen. It's that straightforward. And you can break it down like who, what, when, where, why, but it feels like it's a little bit too many questions on a simple thing.
I agree. I agree. So just basically don't be vague. Sorry, I'm reading some comments here. Access the Live is in the building. Finbear.
What up?
Gorilla done a vision board. What do you expect from a sixth grader? But it's
wow, that's awesome. Oh my God. I would encourage the hell out of
that. Access Alive is a good friend of mine from the community here. Very big brain, very like-minded, very awesome person. All right, so let's jump over to measurable. Develop criteria for measuring progress towards your business goal. Detail the key indicators that help you decide if and when you reach your goal by quantifying them. So it has to be measurable, right? It's easy when you set a money goal to measure it because you can see where you're at and how far it's come. So we were specific with our time, 5 years, 5 mil. Measurable, that's easy to measure, because if you're 2 years in and you've only got, a $500,000 on the plate, then you're clearly not on the right path, or you need to change something up to make sure that that you're going to be able to attain your goal. That's
Yeah, and don't get discouraged, right? Sometimes
Yeah.
you work for 6 months and then you have a windfall. That's also, that happens, right? It doesn't always happen like exactly the way we want it. So there's ups, downs, peaks, valleys, so
Sure.
I have another thing I want to add with measurable, and what's really resonated. Like, I have this comment that I say, and it usually resonates with people. There was a very famous marketer. I can't remember. I want to give him credit, but I can't remember who he was. He says, what gets measured gets managed, right? So if you don't measure it, you don't manage it. So if you don't know that you want to go somewhere, and if you don't measure how far, then you can't increase it or decrease it or right. Bro, you got all the links.
Yeah. This is generally how it goes, right? You think you're gonna go somewhere, and what I've noticed is that your largest obstacles are right before your biggest breakthroughs. So on
100%.
that, not getting discouraged, it's not going to be a smooth, easy path, up and to the right to success. You're going to have down and to the right moments, and you're going to see 85% retracements for the crypto people who are here before you see massive gains or before you go in there. So it's not always peaches and cream. You have to delay your gratification, and you have to be willing to fight through and learn. So here's the thing. If you're not on path and if you're not on pace, that's okay, because essentially what you're looking for are those opportunities to learn, because those opportunities to learn are what help you accomplish the end goal. And the things that you learn now are going to help you along the path down the line to make the obstacles in the future less burdensome, or what's the word I'm looking for?
It's a skill. You learn how to overcome obstacles. You get better at it.
Absolutely. All right, let me close this. So share this tab. So we want to have measurable. You want to be able to measure the goals. Achievable. You want to create goals for your business that are attainable and achievable by ensuring that you and your team have the skills and resources needed to reach the goal. So you want to make sure that you're not just setting something that's absolutely out of the question from happening. I want to be a billionaire in 3 weeks. That's not very achievable. It's not, and I don't ever want to tell anyone that their goals aren't realistic, but at some point you do have to be able to hold yourself accountable, and the rest of these steps will do that with you here, and making sure that they're achievable. Do you have anything to add on that?
I got so many things. I love this stuff, man. I could do 3-hour podcasts on each topic, right? There's so much to talk about. So achievable, I mean, you gotta be okay. So if you say you want to achieve something, but it's not actually possible, so many people are just pie in the sky, right? They're like, oh, I want to do this. I want to do this thing, but it's not achievable. It's not really possible to achieve. So you're not actually doing anything. If your goal isn't achievable, you're really just wasting air. You're wasting your own breath, because it's not going to happen if it's not achievable. So we have to make sure that it's actually something that is possible. And this involves with being honest with yourself, right? Being honest with yourself. Is this something that I really can achieve, or is this something that's beyond what's possible? So achievable is simple as that. I think the best way is just to be honest with yourself and decide, okay, is this something that I really can do? If I want to fly tomorrow I want to grow wings and fly tomorrow. No, it's not achievable. It's not even something that you've never seen a human who had wings before. But I want to run a 4-minute mile. Maybe people have done it before. It's possible.
Yeah.
Maybe you can learn, right? Something like that. So make sure it's a realistic possibility.
Absolutely. Next one here is relevant. You want to align your company's goal with the overall objectives of your business and the realities of the market. That's pretty simple, pretty straightforward. You clearly don't want to work against yourself. You want to make sure, they're talking about company goals here. They could be company goals, they could be personal goals. Part of personal goals, and one of the really cool things that we did back in the day was we were part of the Franklin Covey program, and we went through and we set our roles and we set our values, and that helped us determine what our goals would be. And that was really awesome. That is the time in my life where I saw my relationships go to the next level. I saw my friendships with my relationship with my parents, my family, my friends all reach higher heights, because I was making sure that what I was doing on a day-to-day basis was in line with what my roles and values were. I wanted to be a good son. I wanted to be a great grandson. So I would schedule time, and they were relevant with my goals and the things that I was planning to align with being a good son. So I'd call my mom in the mornings before I got to the office, or I would plan to have dinner with my grandmother and my grandfather on Tuesday nights, which I still do to this day. So I've developed habits from setting goals from 15 years ago that I still do to this day. But yeah, you want it to align with your company's goals. Like one of my goals that I have right now is to become more consistent with my driver on the golf course. So I'm going out and I'm hitting my driver, not every day, but almost every day. But you know, it's something that I want to do personally for myself. So you know, it's a goal that I set. That's pretty clear. That's pretty straightforward. Anything else that you want to?
I got a little note. I got a little note on that. Yeah. Right. A little note on that is one thing that people often miss with that topic is recognizing that your daily activities are working towards your bigger goal. Yep. Right. So like you like, but also noticing if you're no longer doing those habits. Like, for example, like, let's say you want to have a better drive, right? And like, you know, you're going out there and your goal is to have, I don't know too much about golf. Let's say you want to have like a better, I don't know how do you measure like under par?
Just more consistency. Par? Yeah. So fairways and regulation. So if you're on the tee box and you hit your driver, either you're going to land in the fairway or you're going to land somewhere else, not where you're supposed to be. So to become more consistent, I'm practicing with my driver. I'm going out, I'm actively going to the range, I'm lifting weights, I'm doing my exercises to physically be able to perform. There's a lot of different things that go into it. The mental side of things, where I develop a pre-shot routine where I get in the habit of doing the same thing before every single shot. I think physically about slowing down my swing and my backswing, taking about a 75% swing. So there's a lot of things that go into it, and it's really just creating those habits and building a routine and making sure that I'm doing it every single time.
And look how relevant it is, right? When you're swinging, you're like, perfect practice makes perfect. Practice doesn't make perfect, right? So you're making sure that you have your goal, and then the actions that you take are relevant to that long-term goal, and you're not forgetting about that, right? There's times where like you go out there and you swing, but let's say you're not doing the right technique anymore because you're not thinking about it. You're just like on repeat, whatever, just swinging. Then you're not actually working towards your goal anymore. So the point I wanted to make is just making sure that your daily activities match up to your long-term goal. It's really key.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Finally, we have time-based. Give yourself and your staff a deadline for reaching your goal to provide a sense of urgency. That's important. And the opportunity to schedule the steps needed to achieve the goal. So time-based, I think this is one of the most important things. So sometimes, what's the saying? People are set way too big of a 1-year goal and not a big enough 5-year goal.
Yeah, that's Tony Robbins, I think, right?
Is it? It might be. I can't remember who specifically, but people will have super, super big goals for the 1 year and then not big enough goals for the 5-year, or vice versa. You have to be able to give yourself a deadline so you can evaluate. And it's okay to not hit your goal if you evaluate what you have going on and determine why, and then take the action steps needed to correct that behavior. So one of the things that I like to do, I like to set long-term goals first. So with my long-term goals, 5 to 10 years generally is what I'm looking at. And I set really, 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 really big 5-year or 10-year goals. And then I take a medium-term goal, which is a 1 to 2 year goal, something half of the length of the long term. And then I'll just make sure that I'm reaching the goals needed shorter from there. I know that 1 year from now I need to be here. Okay, well, I know each month I'm going to have to accomplish this. If I'm going to have to accomplish that each month, I have to do this every week. To do this every week, I need to be able to do this every year. So when I set my goals, I work backwards. I go out and then I come back and I take actionable steps on what it takes to get me to that goal on a daily basis. So I know if I'm on track today, tomorrow, the end of the week, the end of the month, the end of the year, the end of the 5 years, or the end of the 10 years. And it's really, you're just building a staircase to your goals with shorter goals that you can accomplish on a daily, weekly, monthly, and yearly basis.
Absolutely, dude. There's even another aspect of this as well, which is like, okay, no one likes to feel trapped, right? Like if I close you in a room, we put people in prison because they don't want to feel trapped, right? Okay, like
Right.
that's a really bad feeling. But guess what? It's critical, because if you have a deadline, for example, and I'll show how this relates in a second, is that if you have, who's been in school, like you've been in school, right? And you have a test or a homework that's due on a certain day. How many people procrastinate until the last day? Because that's the deadline. That's the deadline for that thing to be done. So you wait until the day before to finish that thing. So if let's say you had homework that had no deadline, you'd never do it because there's no deadline, right?
Yep.
So you have to give yourself a deadline, and you have to trap yourself in to hold yourself accountable. People don't want to do that. They try to hide, they try to escape. You have to give yourself a very specific deadline to achieve that result. And even guess what? If you want to go the extra mile, put it vocally. Put it on your Facebook. Hey, I'm going to achieve this result by this date. And if I don't, I'm going to give my friend $100. Guess what? You're going to achieve that result.
So we used to call that back in the day the accountability buddy, right? So you have someone to hold you accountable to your goals. If you're unable to do that, there's somebody in our community here who does that. His name is Maddie, and he created a wallet where you could, or a smart contract where you could hold yourself accountable and delay gratification. And it's really cool what Maddie has going on. I could tell you a little bit more about that off screen, but it's for the crypto heads there. But yeah, man, it's great to have somebody or something that will help hold you accountable to your goals. Like it's accountability. I feel like one of the biggest problems in the world today is people are not held accountable for what they do or what they say or their actions or their behaviors or any of that shit. So, I could harp on this all day.
We could go on this forever, dude. Look at the United States. I mean, we could go forever on this topic. For sure.
Congressmen and
oh my God, dude.
People not holding them accountable, zero accountability. Like, and it's funny. There's a group of citizens that actually pay attention to what's going on, and then there's people who don't have any clue as to what's going on, and that small little group wants everyone to know that they need to be held accountable, and the people who don't pay attention know that they should be held accountable, but I think that they just feel like they don't have the control. I don't know, it's a big mess.
They got power. They got power.
We could go on all day about that, and I'm sure everyone in here is pretty like-minded on those beliefs. So yeah, that's pretty much it with the SMART goals: specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, time-based. When you're setting your goals, you want to make sure that you're not just saying, oh yeah, I want to make this much money in this amount of time, without having some sort of action steps and checks and balances to be able to hold yourself accountable and hit your goals in a timely manner. You want to make sure that they're measurable, that you can make sure that you're reaching it in a timely manner with the time-based, and that you're reaching it that whatever criteria you do develop to measure the progress, you want to be able to have that. But yeah, man, SMART goals, awesome, good stuff there.
Let me before we wrap up on goals, I want to give people that analogy we were just talking about before we went live about the canoe, right? Like life, if you consider life to be like a river, right, and you're going downstream on the river, and you're in a canoe, and you're like just going down the river is going to take you wherever it wants to take you. Wherever the stream goes, it's going to force you this way, force you that way. If you don't have a goal, a paddle, if you don't have something to guide, a destination to set, a direction to go in, you're just going to go wherever the world takes you. How many people are just floating around? They say, oh, I want to be here one day. It would be nice. But they're not actually setting a specific goal and then working towards that thing and saying, hey, I'm in this river and this river has like a default position that it's going to bring me in. But I don't want default. I'm not a default kind of guy. I'm a customized kind of guy. And I'm going to set exactly where I want to go. And I'm going to go there. So also with that, so many people will hear something like this and go, oh, I have an idea. I have an idea of what to do. I don't really need to sit down and write this out. And don't do that. Like sit down, write it out. Actually have a plan for yourself, 10 years, 5 years, like long-term, short-term, long-term, mid-term, short-term. Actually set a goal. Do this exercise. Get your pen out, get your paper out, paddle your own canoe, 100%. Write down your goals. Like actually do it. Because don't just listen and then take no action. This is not the way to success. The way is to learn something new, implement it, and then get better at it. And this is the first step. The first step in whatever you want to do is setting your goal and setting your destination. If you want to go somewhere, what do you do first? You put the address in your GPS. That's the first step, right? Then you get in your car and then you go. But if you don't have that address,
where you're headed. Yep.
100%.
That's a great analogy. No. Yeah. So I think that there's one extra thing too. So if we can give one piece of advice to everyone who's watching right now or who tunes in today that they could do right now to see a difference is plan your weeks. On Sunday, sit down on Sunday, take 30 minutes of your time and say, I want to accomplish this week. I want to accomplish this week. I want to get this done. If there's something that's been pressing that you just keep blowing off, you're much more likely to accomplish it. If you sit down on Sunday, write down the specific time that you're going to do it throughout the week, talk to somebody about it, have someone that's going to hold you accountable and move forward from there. The littlest things, going to the gym. Okay, you write it down. This is my schedule for the week. I'm going to hit the gym Monday. I'm going to hit the gym Wednesday. I'm going to hit the gym Friday. Boom. Saturday and Sunday I have off. I'm going to only allow myself to eat out one time this week. If that means you have to meal prep, planning your week ahead gives you the time to think about these things. So you're being proactive upon your morals and values instead of being reactive to the situation, which is huge. Most people float through life and they just react to the situation that they're currently in instead of being proactive and planning and paving their path, paddling their canoe on what's going to get them to the next level. So you need to set goals. You need to be proactive. You need to plan. And it's best if you do all of this stuff the day before or the beginning of the week. Don't just leave yourself to float down the river of life and let the river take you where it may. Be proactive, hold yourself accountable, set goals, and work towards it. And I guarantee it'll help you on that path to 5 years, $5 million.
Expert level is Sunday, the morning, and the evening of every day, right? I mean, that's expert level. If you're doing the top, you're doing Sunday night, you're preparing your whole week. Every day in the morning, you're reviewing what you have to do that day. And then every evening, you're looking back and saying, did I do the things I want to do?
Yep. Absolutely.
That's expert level, right? That's the top. So the closer you can get to that, the closer you're going to get to where you want to go. But first we have to set, where do we actually want to go, right? Once we have to set that first and decide and make a decision and commit to what it is you want to do. So yeah. Awesome.
Yeah. I'm trying to see here, look on the notes to see what else we have. What to do, what not to do, plan your week, preparation. Everyone has heard the term luck. You're lucky. You do this, you do that. Luck is when preparation meets opportunity. If you prepare yourself, the opportunity will eventually present itself. And then that's when luck happens. That's when you start to see the results. That's when you really start to make the accomplishments. That's when you really start to achieve your goals. With that,
the alternate thing for luck, right? Labor under correct knowledge.
Whoa, say that again.
LUCK, luck, labor under correct knowledge.
What's under? Understand?
So if you do labor under correct knowledge, you create your own opportunity. So you create your own luck rather than having, just being lucky. People say, oh, you're lucky, you were an overnight success, but they don't see the 10 years of work, the labor under correct knowledge. So working hard with the right information that got to that point.
Under the guidelines of correct knowledge you have obtained, finally it's time to take action or labor in order to achieve your objectives. Knowledge correct under labor. When you put into practice, everything will fall into place. Labor under correct knowledge. Yeah. So if you have the correct knowledge, it just takes the labor to get there, and eventually the luck will come. Yeah.
You create your own
absolutely,
luck. Luck
man.
isn't some esoteric thing that just happens to some people and not to others. I mean, there's also being in the right place at the right time. There's something to that for sure. But however, you ended up being in the right place because you've been there before and you're ready to accept that opportunity.
It takes dedication and consistency to get anywhere in this world. Consistency is king. Bitfinesse is one of, I know you don't know him, Ryan, but he's one of the original people that were into Hex super early. And him and I spoke on the original conference that Maddie held back in 2021. I think it was a couple of years ago. He had a really, really, really good talk. I'll send you the link on that. It's a good listen, and I know you're always down for that. All things good for you require a thou shall attitude.
Sure.
Very
sure.
True. So much truth to that. And then he's full of knowledge. Choose excellence over perfection. What was that saying we used to say all the time? Not perfection. Oh, what the hell was it? I'll remember it when we get off stream or whatever. But
the biggest one I can remember is that practice doesn't make perfect, but perfect practice makes perfect. That's the biggest one that comes up for me there. Well, just doing things the right way, not just doing them over and over again.
Yep. You are how you practice, right?
Oh,
and like
that's good too.
I love Allen Iverson, and there's that famous clip of him. We're talking about practice.
Talk about practice.
But yeah,
Right.
You know what? Kobe Bryant practiced like a monster. Kobe Bryant practiced like the real game was the real game. And that's why the Lakers were able to beat the 76ers, because at the end of the day, Kobe was putting in work in practice. And no matter how much I love him and have respect for Allen Iverson, he probably wasn't putting in the type of practice that Kobe was. So at the end of the day, you get in what you get out. You get out what you put in. So make sure that it's quality.
And if you're talking about leadership, right, the first step is to lead yourself exceptionally well. And that involves being there and doing all the action steps every day. People get inspired by your action. People follow what you do, not what you say. 100%.
Absolutely. Yeah. All right, man. We're right at an hour here. I think we've been going. It's been a great first show. I'm going to get this uploaded. I'm going to take clips. There was some really good information. We're going to take some clips from here and post them up. Thank you everybody for stopping by. For those that are here now that weren't here at the beginning, this is my buddy Ryan. We've been in business together in some form or another for 15 years, and constantly holding each other accountable, constantly pushing each other to do more and to be better and to grow personally, professionally, spiritually. It's awesome to see where both of us have come over the past 15 years. When Ryan and I first met each other, we were both super broke. We were working a job where we made like $30K a year. We were working 13, 14 hours a day. We'd be up at 5 a.m. We'd have to drive an hour to work. Once we got there, we'd have to have one-on-ones with our guys on our team. We'd have to develop them before the office hours. This is at breakfast at the deli across the street. We would meet our guys an hour before the office opened just to train them, just to develop them, just to help them get to the next level, to make them leaders, to create leaders out of them. And then we would get to the office at 8. We'd be in the office. We'd have leaders meetings from 8 to 8:30. 8:30, the new guys come in. We spend an hour and a half training, going through meetings and training with the new guys. After that, we would go to the field. We would be out in the field with trainees and interviews with us. We'd have multiple people with us in the field doing business door-to-door sales.
Yep.
We'd get back in the evening. We'd break down and stay with all of our new guys. We'd walk through their days with them, specifically what we did, how we would go through. We were putting in hours. And then we had our leadership stuff to do at the office after the new guys left. We had to run and maintain the office and make sure that everything was on point for everyone to come in the next day to be set up for success. So everything
you forgot. Can I interrupt you? You forgot two parts. We also went to the gym in the morning. We went to the gym
before. Yep. So we'd have an hour at the gym before we would meet our new guys, an hour before
5:30.
Yeah. And so everything that we talk about on this podcast, in this stream, we have lived, we have done. We're never going to tell you to do something that we haven't done. We know what it is. We both are in a position that most people would dream to be in. I'm in my 40s now. Ryan's a little bit younger than me, but to be in our 30s and 40s, to be where we are at in life, people dream of this type of stuff. The way that we were able to accomplish the goals is by doing exactly what we talk about on the stream and what we're going to talk about on this podcast, hopefully for years to come. But yeah, we would literally get there early. We wouldn't leave until 7, 8 o'clock at night, sometimes 12 hours there, an hour before with our guys.
Also happy hour. Forgot happy hour too.
Yep. So there were a lot of times that, so there's, real quick, I'm going to drop a nugget on everyone.
Yes.
There's 3 reasons. There's 3 reasons why people don't stay at a job. They're not learning, they're not making money, and the people that they work with, they don't like them. So if you can do those 3 things with your people and your employees that you're trying to train and develop and get to grow, if you can show them how to make money, if you can teach them things that they do not know and teach them new skills, teach them new stuff like the things that we're going to discuss on this podcast, and if you can teach them and develop great personal relationships with these people, you are going to surround yourself with studs, and you are going to see your company grow. You're going to see whatever it is that you're working on, your organization, you're going to see it build and grow and develop. You're going to see all of these things fall into place. So that's really what we were doing. So we would get there early in the morning to help them learn. We would work with them throughout the day to show them how to make money. And then at the end of the day, we would go out to dinner, go to the bar, go have a drink with them, and show them that we actually cared about them and develop that personal relationship with them. So we've done what it takes. We've built businesses. We've been very successful with what we've been able to do, and it's put us into positions. Now we want to share all of this knowledge out with you guys. So we greatly, greatly, greatly appreciate everybody tuning in today. My home girl, Kay, what is good? I am back streaming. I guess you could say it's a rebrand. I am the steak and bake is taking a back seat for now. I think there's a lot of information and knowledge that I have that Ryan and I have learned that we can share and help others grow and develop. So we're going to try this out. We're going to start it at maybe once a week. This one was kind of fun. Like, it went through. It was easy to talk about, easy to go see. And I don't know, maybe we'll do it more than once a week, but we're going to start out slow and just see how it goes and see what kind of viewership we get and kind of go from there. But thank you everyone for showing up, man. Thank you, Ryan, for coming. Thank you for holding me accountable to finally doing this. I know we've been talking about it for a long time, and it just kind of seems that like the time has come and everything is falling into place for that to happen.
100%. Let's get these mother truckers out here taking action, actually hitting their goals, actually getting the results they want, and stop just talking about it. Be about it. Do it. Fear of the unknown, all that stuff. Get rid of it.
Absolutely. Your goals should be so big that people laugh at you. And when I tell people that I'm going to make $5 million in 5 years, in 5 years, I'll have $5 million liquid cash in my pocket, we can help you get to that point. Appreciate everybody tuning in. Hope you guys have a great day. Peace.